Hello, my name is Emeka Ubonye. I am the founder of the Due Process Advocates and the president of the Equulaw Group. I invite you today for a discussion on what is going on in Imo State at the present time. By this, I refer to the violence and the shootouts between members of the Nigerian Security Forces and the ESN fighters, the attacks on police stations, and similar problems. We see what is going on in Imo State as something that could very quickly spread to the rest of the eastern states, the 5 Igbo states. In our organization, DPA, we are committed to seeking to redress human rights crisis, injustices, and the sort of violence we are seeing in Imo State. As a result, it was natural for us as an organization to begin to ask questions as to what is going on in Imo State. And again, I emphasize it's not restricted to Imo State. We have seen a similar police attack or a similar attack on a police station in Enugu State, and we're hearing of similar violence in Ebonyi State, Anambra State, and Abia as well. So there is a systemic violence spreading across the 5 states of eastern Nigeria, that is the southeast region. As we begin to ask what is causing this, the chain of causation, what is leading to what, in order for us to begin to find ways to roll back that chain of causation, to reverse the trend of what is clearly a drift to broader violence, anarchy, and even a civil war. As we ask these questions, our attention was drawn inevitably to the activities of Mr. Nnamdi Kanu and Indigenous Peoples of Biafra, IPOB organization, and then the Eastern Security Network, which he set up as an offshoot of IPOB. We began to look at the activities, and we are troubled by what we are finding. But before I talk about IPOB, let us step back a bit and ask ourselves, how did we get to IPOB? How did IPOB come about? We go back, and since 1999, when we returned to civilian government in this new republic, the political class of the eastern states, that is the Igbo political elite, somehow managed to allow a wide gap to grow between them and the population. There is so much discontent, there is so much failure of governance to reach the people. Inevitably, the people began to look elsewhere for their salvation. They lost faith and confidence in their government. As that void widened, the quest for alternatives grew. Nnamdi Kanu and his IPOB came in to fill that void. So inevitably, Nnamdi Kanu did not result from nowhere. He and his movement are a product of poor governance, failure of governance by the political elite of the East, that is the Igbo political elite. And now the question we ask is, what alternative did Nnamdi Kanu and IPOB actually offer the people? How good is that alternative? How effective is that alternative? Without fear of contradiction, the alternative IPOB offers the people of the East, the Igbo people, is extremely dangerous. It is an alternative that is not sustainable. It is an alternative that is going to lead us to war. In fact, as we watch events that occurred in the past couple of years, as we looked at the activities, utterances, and pronouncements of Nnamdi Kanu and his IPOB, as comical as they may sound, they are extremely dangerous and provocative. To start with, there is no country in the world where you can raise a private army. ESN is a private army. It's a militia answerable to an individual or an entity that is outside government. No government in the world will allow it. There's no way it could work. Irrespective of the justification, irrespective of what led us to it, ESN is something extremely dangerous. And of course, when we ask how we got here, we must also admit that the federal government of Nigeria contributed to it. The failure of the federal government to do something realistic about the activities of the herdsmen, the killings that were being reported day in, day out in the media, the havoc being wreaked on the population of the local population by herdsmen, such things heighten the tension, heighten the distrust and loss of confidence in government. And such things enabled Nnamdi Kanu's alternative to look like something that people could hang on to. So, but we are saying that irrespective of how we got there, irrespective of the apparent justifications that Nnamdi Kanu has, what he offers the Igbo people as an alternative is extremely dangerous. ESN is a private militia. Inevitably, there will be clashes. There are already clashes between them and the members of the Nigerian Armed Forces. And we already know, those who are observant already know how disastrous and catastrophic that could be. Imo State is just a tinderbox, just a snippet of what is about to happen. We are forced to look back at Nigerian history and shudder at this escalation. We are seeing the events of 1960s being allowed to play shelf all over. We are seeing incredible indifference. We are seeing massive brainwashing of the people by Mr. Nnamdi Kanu. He has no weapons. He has no capacity to fight Nigerian military. He has grossly underestimated the army. All these theories about or assumptions about how Nigerian army failed to defeat Boko Haram, and the assumption that because they failed to defeat Boko Haram, they will be ineffective in quelling any militia in the East. That is naive. That is wholly naive and ignorant. You don't even understand the geography. Boko Haram has a vast territory in the northeastern part of Nigeria. The entire Borno State itself is double the land mass of the entire 5 states of eastern Nigeria. The implication of the size is that Boko Haram has a massive territory to maneuver, to move, to dribble. And Nigerian military is finding it difficult to catch them. Also, Boko Haram had capacity to move into the neighboring countries. You don't have such situation in the East. The East is compact. The East is crowded by civilian population. So I will give you just a graphic scenario. Assuming there is a real hostility, and Nigerian military moves from 82 Division in Enugu heading towards Imo State, and the militia, ESN militia step in to stop them on the way, and there is a fight. Almost immediately, Nigerian military will repel them, push them back. They will run back. And where would they run? they will run into a civilian population, forcing the military to fight in the villages and in the streets, and forcing the ESN fighters to use civilians as human shield. You don't have to be so analytic to understand that this is a major, major crisis that will result in casualties running into millions fairly quickly. The Igbo communities are very compact, highly populated, very densely populated. So we don't have areas to fight that will keep the military away from civilian population. And because ESN is not a standard army, there is no way for the Nigerian army to know who is ESN and who is not ESN fighter. That will lead them to take civilians as combatants. This could become an excuse for massive slaughter. So why do we have to do this? Why should this happen? Many Igbo youths have been misled into believing that because the Fulani headsmen are causing havoc, then anything we do in response is reasonable. No, it's not true. It is not what happens to you that kills you, really. It is how you respond to that thing. So we are alarmed. Those of us who are concerned about the lives that are likely to be lost in the course of this fight, we are alarmed. We are saying it is not necessary. We are urging the governors of the eastern states to do something very, very urgently. They made the first mistake of alienating the population, creating this content that led to quest for some alternatives like Nnamdi Kanu. Now they're making a second mistake, which is their failure to address the problems, the menace raised by the presence and activities of IPOB. The Igbo elite, the senators, the congressmen, the House of Rep men, the ministers, you have to understand what is going on. The Igbo land is about to explode. It is burning. And let me tell you something else you have to know. Your colleagues in other parts of Nigeria, other political elites from the north, they're actually seeing your indifference as complicity. The silence the Igbo elite had maintained over the activities of Nnamdi Kanu is being interpreted outside Igbo land as a sign of support for him. As a sign that whatever ESN is doing represents the entire Igbos. Yet we know that majority of the Igbos do not want war. Majority of the Igbos cannot stand war. Again, let me give you another scenario that you must have to deal with. If war breaks out on ethnic grounds, and it has to be ethnic because ESN is leading it, and ESN, being part of IPOB, has been asking for secession. So if that erupts, there will be hostility against Igbos everywhere in Nigeria, including Lagos. And that will take us back to 1960s. The state governments of other parts of Nigeria will order Igbos to return home to avoid clashes and ethnic attacks in their streets. If that happens, consider yourself, you live in Lagos and you're an Igbo person, you'll be asked to move back to the east. If you don't move back to the east, you have to go into some camp for your own protection to avoid more violence against you. And you know that when you go to east without plan, in confused state, it will be very, very terrible. So it's a time for us. The joke is enough. Yes, we may listen to Nnamdi Kanu and laugh and say this is comic. It may be comic, but it's also tragic. It's a tragic comedy that is unfolding in presence of us. This is Ihedun John Atochi. For those of you who like to laugh over it, we are facing crisis that can be stopped now. It has to be stopped. So I challenge the governors. This is the time to do something. It's not enough to wait last minute and invite the military. This is the time to do something realistic. It is not true that Nnamdi Kanu and IPOB can overwhelm the entire machinery of the 5 Igbo states. It's not true. It's just because you governors are cowards. You are afraid of losing elections. You maintain ambivalence. You want to pretend to support IPOB. At the same time, you pretend to oppose IPOB. But this is time to wake up. Wherever you are, let there be no war. Don't let the youth who have never witnessed war, many of whom are not even educated enough to understand the consequences of war, don't let them believe that it is easy. If you think the war is easy, look at what is happening in Yemen right now. Look at what is happening in the Tigray region of Ethiopia right now. Human beings are dying. The belligerent and warmongering language of Nnamdi Kanu doesn't even help. I read a Twitter feed he sent out that was brought down. In it, Nnamdi said he was willing to sacrifice Igbos. He said, I will sacrifice my people. If you die, we'll remember you. Yes, he will remember you on 30th May of next year. But that is terrible. Why must you die? Can we not solve this problem by other means apart from you dying? So, take this as my call to all of you, educated Igbos, wherever you are. The joke is over. We are on the threshold of war. And for those of you who will say no, there can't be war because we have not asked for war. That is also very naive. You don't have to use the word war to ask for war. When you engage in activities that will attract military resistance, that is an invitation to war. Even if you think you are justified in your causes, even if you think that whatever you do, or rather, if you think that you have suffered extreme injustice, you cannot keep quiet, always ask yourself, this course of action I'm embarking upon, how effective is it? How efficient is it? How does it advance my long interest? If a war occurs, regardless of who is at fault, if war occurs or wide-scale violence occurs, regardless of who is at fault, it will result in the loss of lives of millions of Igbos. It will be unfortunate for Igbos to face that fate twice in a century. We must stop it. We must wake up. We must be realistic. We must continue to search for justice for the Igbos, but without war or bloodshed. We have the capacity to explore diplomatic options, various options at our disposal. We are intelligent people. We have contacts. We can make the argument. We can persuade the world. We can do everything and succeed except one thing, and that is war. War is the only thing I know we will lose, for sure. Because it is very easy to tell that the Igbos do not have capacity for war. Thank you very much. This is the beginning of a conversation we shall continue to have. But we all have the duty to educate our angry young people. Their anger is justified. They have suffered injustices and oppression in Nigeria. That oppression is partly from federal government and also partly from their own governors and local government. It's very important. When you wake up and say that the Fulanis and the North are oppressing you, don't forget you're also being oppressed by your own political leaders around you. We must look for justice in a comprehensive fashion. But I don't want to see our young people being sacrificed. I don't want to see them dying. I don't want to see them becoming statistics. I know the state of things in the world right now. Nobody is going to come to rescue you. The world is so polarized. Each country is overwhelmed by various crises. If you think the United Nations or Britain or America will send troops to save you in Nigeria, you are joking. Let's just not try it. Let's pursue alternatives. At the same time, we are hoping to send a message to the Nigerian government. Do not take what is happening now as an excuse to attack. Do not take what is happening now as an indication that all Igbos are supporting ESN. No, majority of the Igbos are opposed to it. Do not think that because of this, we now have to restage the civil war. Restraint is called upon. Alternative approaches are called upon. Let there be a peaceful approach. That is our recommendation to the government, to say, hey, don't think you now have an excuse to do something drastic. Thank you very much.